it strong.
Welcome back, guys. Big Phat Podcast, new episode, powered by CrossFit Green, fueled by reset and sweat, supported by Fat Nutrition, Fat Barbell and Fat Gymnastics.
Woo.
I just literally practiced this before I did it.
Oh, well done, Fergal.
This
Practice
is my
makes perfect.
my first interchange.
Obviously not.
You can't start with that.
Fergal.
We
So
had
your
two
first
guys
one was
last
just-
week, a guy and a girl this week.
Fergal with two lads. I thought it was brilliant.
Sorry, Kelly. I apologise.
Well, I really enjoyed it, Fergal.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Dave's third appearance, Sonia's second appearance. We normally start off each podcast, guys, by asking who would you rather, Matt or Rich, in the podcast. But we found out last week Matt has retired. The 5-time, was it 5 times back?
Five times.
Yeah.
Back to back?
For first place, and he's come second and third the 2 years before that, didn't he?
2 seconds.
Or 2 seconds.
2
isn't it?
seconds and then
Yeah.
5. So 2 seconds in a row and then 5 first.
I had this conversation with someone last week, and there's no point in him continuing. He can only go backwards.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no-
Well, he
if
could go for 10 in
he
a row.
could go
but-
6, but like he has everything to lose and not enough
Yeah, but
to gain. But so is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
I'd say no. It's just another. He can move on and do another chapter. He's already the GOAT.
he is the fittest in history.
I'm
but
really excited to see, though, the field and who else is going to come.
Are you really though? Like,
I
can
am,
you
because
name?
it's been so boring the
can you,
last
like,
few years.
Can
know
you
exactly,
name 5 to 10 new upcoming athletes?
not new upcoming, but people
Yeah,
that
I
are already
couldn't tell
there
you.
that deserve to maybe.
But you could name 5 to 10 CrossFitters
yeah,
that are historical people easily, because it's no longer as cool as it used to be. Competitive CrossFit.
well, again, timing is such a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you want to be strong enough, Pat Vellner talked about, I think, about with Noah Olsen, they said they were always chasing Matt because they were never strong enough. Whereas Matt could just work and focus on his conditioning because he had that background of strength. So, like, it's not OG like the way it was anymore, where you could just walk into the sport. It takes years to actually
Like
get anywhere near it.
Frowning ended up in regionals just because he wanted to stop at the competition and have a look and decided to take part. And then he won regionals and got an invite to the games.
He won it by a mile as well.
Yeah, he got in 2010. Him and Darren Zuckerberg. Is it Zuckerberg?
Darren Zuckerberg, yeah, it was
Yeah.
supposed. Darren Zuckerberg pulled out though, but didn't tell him.
Like they were just like, oh, we'll do a WOD. Oh, we'll do 2 WODs. Oh, we'll do 3 WODs.
You didn't need all the high scale or different
No,
movements.
it was
that
different. It was a
upcoming
different
now.
kettle of fish back
But
then.
even if you look at the teenage category or girls, for example, the weights that they're lifting now compared to what Dave laptop off,
Yeah.
what
Bro.
they would have been lifting like a couple of years ago, it's absolutely crazy what you're expected to be able to do as an entry level, let alone elite of the elite.
I remember when I started CrossFit, I first was 2012 regionals in Wollongong in
Sydney.
Australia. And I
Bring us
remember
back.
like they were all struggling with like 35 kilo dumbbells, and you were just
There was no dumbbells back then.
and the lads were doing butterflies. There was a dumbbell snatch and overhead squat in the regionals.
Really?
And the lads and girls were all doing kipping movements and struggling, and I was like, this is totally achievable. I just have to work hard and sleep real good. No.
But even on YouTube, I was watching from regionals a couple of years ago, and they had strict muscle ups in it, and like loads of the girls were getting their first strict muscle up at the regionals. It's like now you need to have like 10 in a row before you can even compete.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was turning into a professional sport, and then CrossFit itself messed around with the formatting of things, and it made it much harder for the professionals to potentially make a living out of doing it, because there wasn't many roads to the games as there was, or qualifications was harder. So a lot of people were like, it's just so hard for me to make a living out of this now and be good at CrossFit. So they had to go and make a living in a job and then training suffer, because if you want to be professional, you got to treat it like a professional sports person. Like Tiger Woods doesn't go to work in the morning and then come back and hit a few balls. Like
Easy Muhammad talked about that, I think, after he said when he eventually, because he struggled for years to make it to the games because he kept getting caught in handstand push-ups, but he said he went
long arms.
He said he finished top 10 or something, or top 15 the year he actually got to the games, and he got his paycheck or whatever. He was like, I'm after making all that sacrifice for that. Like,
Yeah, it would have been like 15 grand or something.
I'm happy to try and go to the games again, but I don't know if I'm willing to give up everything I gave up.
You should go to the Dubai qualifiers. You make a shitload of money at that.
Yeah.
But there's only a certain amount of places, and then like, right, where did you qualify through? Dubai? Deadly, well done.
going to be one of the
50
hardest
grand.
comps to qualify.
Where did you qualify through? Filthy 150. Great competition for us here. What did you get? 2 packets of Avonmore milk and a blank check. Like, that's it.
And I had to pay my extraordinary accommodation in Dublin while I was there.
Yeah, so like it is all different, but it comes down to, right, Fraser's probably going to qualify for the games either way, so he's making a living out this, and his sponsors are paying as well for X, Y and Z, so he's probably comfortable. The top guys are probably comfortable.
Yeah, once you've got all your sponsorships, you're laughing.
But like that's the pinnacle of it. So if you dial back to maybe a layer or two down, how much money are these people making? Like they're not making enough to get by.
They have full-time jobs.
A lot of them do.
Yeah. And then you're not putting as much into your training, therefore.
And a full-time athlete doesn't make a good coach all the time, because their mind can be quite often elsewhere. They're focused on themselves. That's a conversation for another day.
They had, like, when you look at it now, like the amount of Reebok athletes, like, everyone was a Reebok athlete. Just a handful of them left.
They might be
Reebok
athletes. Are they getting paid? Like,
Reebok
only the
is
top
gone.
level ones are getting paid as well.
Like, they have, like,
most of them are getting just free clothes. Yeah.
But can we clarify as to when the Reebok CrossFit affiliation is finished? This year or last year? It's not going to be the Reebok CrossFit Games anymore.
No, I think that's gone.
Finished. I think it was 2010. It was a 10-year contract, 2010 or 2011.
Oh.
But it wasn't being renewed.
But remember, they had that legal issue.
Yeah.
Because when you went onto the CrossFit Games site to buy the shoes,
yeah,
they said they were out of stock, so it redirected you to the Reebok. So they had a big debate about that. So then they got pulled.
Yeah. So like, but like even the new Nano is not the Reebok CrossFit Nano.
Yeah, it's
the Reebok Nano X.
Yeah.
And like even your shoe doesn't have CrossFit written on it.
It doesn't, does it?
Unless you wrote it on yourself.
Well, I'm wearing Nike, so mine doesn't.
So I think it'll make competition a little bit more interesting. But again, Fraser, I don't see why he would.
It's a big what if to me. Like,
I didn't see it coming.
I was like, all right.
Yeah.
He's hit his peak and he's bailed out just as it was coming down.
But then he would retire second.
So
now he's retiring as the champ.
Yeah, but what if, man?
And he's the one to beat.
Could have been
like,
a 6-time
who's going to get
champion?
5 in a row? Who's going to get 6 in a row?
On a side note, Brady just played in his 10th Super Bowl and won his 7th ring.
Yeah.
He's 43. He's 21 years at it.
Yeah.
It's a lot
So
of commitment.
maybe different ball game, but different sport, different criteria. Like they're playing all year round with the potential to get to the Super Bowl. That's his job. Like
they don't play all year round. Like,
but no, they play season. They're off season now until summertime.
I heard somewhere before that they don't get paid in the off season. Sorry, this is NFL, by the way, Sonya.
Yeah, I'm already checked out. I'm like, cool. Why is a girl asked onto this podcast talk about NFL?
But you're very sporty.
Yeah, but not
you
NFL.
played sports all your.
I did.
You and Deborah were kicking balls out in the field.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Them guys are probably.
But they get paid. They get paid annually. Like they have a 5-year, $10 million contract.
I heard somewhere before that they don't get so their preseason starts in like August or September, isn't it? And like so their season's finished now as of February, but they don't get paid then in the off season. I don't know if that's true.
If anybody knows,
in the comments below.
Can you let us know
in the comments
and
below?
And please subscribe as well while you're
and
there.
Subscribe to the comments below.
We're going to set up a YouTube
so competition.
channel.
Right, competition. If
Open's
you are,
coming.
The Open's
coming for at home.
So if you are heading towards the Open,
yes,
and you just go to a CrossFit gym, do you need to do specialized programming, or do you just need to turn up every day or 3 or 4 days a week and exercise? Or if you want to be a good CrossFitter and use the Open as a base to go somewhere else, maybe then do you get onto specialized programming? And then we can have a conversation around what is specialized programming. What's the difference?
Well, I think a lot of people jump onto specialized programming because they start off in a class and they notice that they're a little bit fitter than others, or they have a few higher skills than others, like maybe a couple of handstand push-ups or a few bar muscle-ups, but they don't understand the dedication it takes or the loneliness that it is to train on your own individual every day, and they can't push as much as they can within a class setting. Whereas people think maybe in a class setting you're not doing like the volume of high skill that you would get on your own, but at the same time, if I'm pushing against Fergal every day in class, I know he's similar to me, my target is to be Fergal. A lot of people don't have that mental drive.
So first of all, can we define specialized programming? Or athlete programming, or competitive programming? Individual programming. What's the difference between that? So if I squat on a regular GPP
What's
or
GPP for the followers that don't know?
It's your GP, general practitioner up the road.
With
Doctor
an extra P
can't
again.
go with an extra P. General physical preparedness.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what CrossFit is. It's GPP. It's accessible to everybody. So if I squat on that and I'm doing 5 heavy singles, whatever it is, versus I'm squatting on a performance program, what's the difference? Your muscles are doing the same things. Your joints are moving in the same movement pattern. You're neurologically and physiologically doing the same things.
Depends what the end goal is and what you want to get out of it. Like maybe people might go on individual because they're injured. People might want to take it to the next level where they actually do want to put in the time and effort to compete, or just.
By the way, I don't have an answer for what's the definition of.
Yeah.
I think that's
It
maybe
depends on each individual.
defining an end goal could be a good way to look at it.
Can you name like how many CrossFitters can you name that you think that did online programming and actually made it to the games?
What do you mean online programming, like with
That just,
an individual
like,
coach?
Nothing specialized, nothing specific for them, but just bought an online program because the name or
A
something.
generic one. Well, actually, Matt Fraser has brought out now today or yesterday. They announced.
What's an
on Instagram.
online program? What do you mean? Just downloaded a program, or just having
like comp train or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Something that wasn't designed
Or training
specifically
think
for
like
them,
Invictus,
but it's listed
Invictus
as a
comp program.
competitor's.
Yeah.
Well, I think back in the day, people would have started with the generic program, but now it's a lot more people are tailoring it to individual.
Yeah, a lot of people would have gone on to Invictus back in the day and gone to a competitive program and just done that day. Whereas now, like, I know athletes will have a relationship with like Deca Comp or Comp Train or Invictus, and they'll have a one-on-one contact, or even Training Think Tank or something like that, a one-on-one contact. But again, so I go on to Training Think Tank and I subscribe and I get a program back. If you look at it and you understand programming, it's just a fancy way to do the same shit. You're decorating a turd. It's A1, B1, B2, conditioning, strength, accessory. Turn up, do your warm-up.
It comes down to time as well. Like, some people like to come to the gym and do a couple of different things, whereas obviously if you're in a class, you're really stuck on the structure, whereas we normally get a strength phase in. You might get 2 exercises in your strength phase and then you're going into your workout. Some people just love to do 90 minutes of training a day and beat the shit out of their bodies.
Some people think that beating the shit out of yourself is the way to move forward. And I'm like, go home and drive your car in first gear all the way there and see how well that works.
I was actually watching this video on Lad Boy, but like, it was kind of fair play to him at the same time. It was just kind of a hard lesson. It was a fellow who said he would run 5k every day for 30 days.
Jesus.
He got 7 days in and he was injured.
Yeah, no.
You have you seen this madness going around? Like, it's 30 days, 30 Murphs.
Even the push-ups like that went around in lockdown, like that stuff is.
But we discussed this last week with a lot of people running like 100 miles or 100k or cycling from here to
100 miles. We were talking about last week, I think.
Uzbekistan and back on your bike, and you're like, I did it, but I can't feel my knees because I've got no cartilage left.
Well, like, for some people, taking on a challenge like that is better than what they were doing before, sitting on a couch, which is amazing. But yes,
absolutely.
There has to be some knowledge and education around why we should
I have a question,
be doing this.
right?
Yes.
So, have we ever noticed, or what do you think of, because we've all been around this long enough, of the people who are, I'm really good at CrossFit, I'm going to go on and do this mad program, but you're like, you don't even do your reps in the class. So skippers. Oh, well.
We actually had a poll on our Instagram about this last week, what our topics were that we wanted to talk about.
Skippers.
And this came up.
So what I get...
Rep skippers.
Oh, here you go. I didn't even know that. Right. So skippers. What I always think about is the importance of the rep range and the rounds, or the workload of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So that's the principle behind the programming, to get you better, as opposed to just getting there faster. You've missed the point. So ergo, well done, you set yourself a better time, but you didn't do a comparative amount of work to everybody else. You didn't do the prescribed work, so you're missing the prescribed stimulus or the end goal. So if we're all talking about, well, your definition of something is the end goal, and then you're just skipping reps to get there, well, you're not doing it properly anyway, so it makes no bloody sense.
Let's talk about cheaters, and in a sense, when we say cheaters, there's different types or different,
such a negative word.
Different ways that people, or why they would cheat. So for example, like, you can have
we define as different ways?
CrossFitter that wants to win all the time, which they skip a couple of reps because they get first on the leaderboard. Yeah, that is like, that pisses me off so much. And as a coach, you can spot that person from a mile away. People think you can't, but you can. But then there's someone that comes in, general population, they've never done CrossFit. You give them like 400 meter run, come in, 20 burpees, 16 pull-ups, whatever it is, and they're like, holy God, I do not want to be last in the class as such. So for people like that, I do have a little bit of compassion, and I'm like,
I think we've gotten better as a team for, say, people who come in like that, to say, listen,
scale it,
modify it, Leave your ego at the door. I have a big sign out there that says check your ego at the door.
I've never noticed that.
Did you not? No, it's too high for you, Sonya.
Yeah.
Right? But that's important. That is hugely important. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing a modified workload to get the same result.
Yeah.
Like,
it comes down to as well the same thing as RX and scaled. We as CrossFit Green stopped putting RX prescribed weight on the board for that very reason.
I asked Wattify, can they remove the RX button?
And what did they say?
They can't. It's too big a job. It was like built into the infrastructure of it. But it makes no sense. Like, what's the RX weight? I don't care, Billy. Just do whatever weight you can move to get the desired.
I think there's a really funny thing with that RX button though. Because there's some things like I say this to Kelly the whole time. I was like, Kelly, you did the RX workout. Why didn't you take the RX button? She's like, I couldn't give a shit about that button.
Yeah. What's the button
going
to do?
Some people care about it, but other people it means everything.
Yeah, it is. It is weird. Like, what's the RX weight? What weight are you going to be able to do? Can you do 60? 60 is your RX weight, and they're like.
But they could do 60 for a rep or two, and they
folded
struggle
underneath it like an accordion, like absolutely dying. Like, I think we've all. I used to RX everything, and going into the open, I RX'd everything, and I was borderline capable, but I found it very hard to keep up with everything. So I bet the shit out of myself.
Did you skip any reps, Dave?
No,
I'm not.
You can't at the open, Jim. Someone's standing there.
No, not in the open. I just mean on the road.
I'm quite honest with my rep range. I do. I can work hard, and that's no problem. But I did the last year's open scaled.
Did you win?
And I actually did quite well globally.
You came second, did you?
I think I came like second.
In the Masters category.
In the Masters, I was like second in Ireland. I was in the top 100 in the world or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're awesome.
I'm pretty good, and I had a wonderful time. I was the most enjoyable open I've ever done.
Yeah. It's the stress that people put on their body.
The
Again,
stress of it.
I haven't been able to compete in the open for the last 3 years, so I'm praying this year maybe I'll be able to compete in the scaled category.
Yay.
I won't be coming anywhere up the top.
I'll be there with you in the scaled category.
Thanks,
no problem.
I'll happily admit some days when I leave my ego in the car park.
Yeah.
And then I'll be happy some days when I'm bringing it in, but like competitive edge me, man, when the open comes around, I just have to.
Do you remember
give it a bash.
Ferg and Podge back in the competitive edge in their USA?
What I find fascinating, right?
I did my first comp with Fergal and Podge, and I was like, oh my god, they were so hyped up like bros. I was like, what is going on
Fergal's
here?
nearly back squatting 200 kilos, and then he comes in, he scales burpees, and you're like, hold on here, lad, what's going on? Like,
you gotta check your ego some days.
Polar opposites here, massive difference. So anyway, guys, I think the importance is learn not to miss your reps just because you're chasing a clock.
And
do the workload.
If you're getting annoyed by cheaters, there is no solution for us. They've been there as long as time.
Just call them out.
Just walk over to them and just walk over and just give them this look like.
I'll see you.
Dave, the camera can't see the look, man.
No, the camera.
Really? Really? No, like it makes no difference, but I think it's important to know. So if me and Fergal are doing a workout and Fergal finishes because he's missing reps and I didn't, it's irrelevant what he did, whether I call him out or not. I've done my work. I know
you're going to get fitter
honest.
And better for it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get the better results out of it. Just because he got a better time on the clock. If we didn't record our times, it would make no difference.
Yeah. You're still coming in to do some fitness.
At the same time,
you're making yourself a healthier version.
Just have fun with it, guys.
Don't
be so confrontational about it.
Yeah, it's like...
Beat you later.
What?
I'm going to beat you later. In the workout.
She's going to beat you with her Mad China hat on.
I don't have my Mad China hat.
You're so aggressive, Sonya. So aggressive. And you can see her, she's just like, I'm going to beat you.
I'm gonna beat you.
Listen.
Are you going to do the home variation if we're open in time? If we're not open, are you going to do the home variation?
Yeah, I'll do whatever. Like, again, it's going to be the scaled home. Like,
basically do the RX one.
Max standing up for time.
Just do the RX one against me, man.
Are you going to do it at home? Well, it depends on the movements.
I still have access to the facility, so I'll probably do it.
Good man, Fergal.
Don't tell the followers that we're not meant to.
But now I'll do whatever. Like, again, I'm only training these days for enjoyment and for longevity. And
you have a bit of competitive edge and you still live.
I will, but in the right environment. I'm not going to be competitive for the wrong reasons. I'm not trying to chase anything down. If me and you aren't going neck to neck in a workout,
it's going to be a very different battle though at home. People doing it on their own. Like, it's very. Maybe we could do Zoom. Everyone logs in and does it. I'll be the cheerleader.
I'm going to Skype Matt.
You can Skype whoever you like.
I'm going to Skype Matt. Skype. Who Skypes these days?
That's all
Zoom
we have time
Matt.
for, Dave. So you're going to have to save the rest of your thoughts for next week.
Matt, I'm coming for you.
Guys, that's this week. Stay positive. Keep testing negative.
Can I clap now?
And clap. Yay!
Be strong.